Merhaba, welcome to NBP Hotseat. This is Akkuyu. Today we travel to Turkey, an emerging country in nuclear energy, and I'm delighted to be joined by Mr.Yusuf Ceylan, who is the General Manager of Nükleer, Teknik, Destek, Anonim, Şirketi, or NÜTED for short. NÜTED is the technical support organization of the Nuclear Regulatory Authority of Turkey. Now, Mr. Ceylan has had a remarkable career in the nuclear sector, both domestically and internationally, having worked with the Turkish Atomic Energy Authority, the Turkish Nuclear Regulatory Authority, and also with the OECD Nuclear Energy. Welcome, Mr. Ceylan. It's a great pleasure to have with you today.
Okay, dear Mr. Zaf, it's a pleasure for me too, and you are welcome. I send you our warm welcoming to Turkey, and it's a pleasure for me to be a part of this platform, and I will try to answer your questions.
Wonderful.
And try to help our colleagues.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Mr. Ceylan, let's get down to some information for our international participants who are not familiar with NÜTED. Perhaps you could share with us the background of NÜTED, and in particular, what is your role within NÜTED? Mr. Ceylan, please.
Yes, Mr. Zaf, maybe I will try to give an informations for our colleagues for their better understanding about our nuclear ecosystem that we are calling in Turkey. What is the part of this nuclear ecosystem? With the newly development in nuclear, we established our new regulator authority according to the agency's requirements. Especially the nuclear history for Turkey is very old. It starts from very early stages of the 1956. It has been established. It was established as an Atomic Energy Commission. This is our first authorities that has been established at that times, and then the name has changed in 1982 as a Turkish Atomic Energy Authority, which is name is the TAEK, short name. And in 2018, we developed our new nuclear law, and together with this nuclear law, we established the independent regulatory authority together with technical support organizations. Again, these are all the requirements came from the EIA requirements. And what is the roles of the NÜTED? We are giving a technical support to the regulatory authorities from the licensing activities for inspection activities, for radiation sources, for training, etc. So we are responsible for giving a technical support to the regulatory authorities activities in Turkey. And my aim here to establish our regulatory technical support organizations, and now we are in development and capacity build-up stages, and we have an increasing number of experts. We have an national and international experts, which is taking a role in our organizations to give fully support to our regulatory authorities activity.
Yes. So, Mr. Ceylan, you mentioned earlier that the NÜTED was established to basically meet the needs and requirements of the Turkish Nuclear Regulatory Authority. So perhaps you can share with us very briefly what exactly are some of the needs and requirements of your regulatory authority?
Yes, Mr. Zaf, actually, as I mentioned, the history for the our regulatory organizations is old, but the nuclear is a new concept for us. It starts with the 2010 with the intergovernmental agreement with Russian Federations. When we signed IGA with Russian Federation in 2010, the Akkuyu project have been started at that time. And in these stages, the generally agency is suggests that the newcomer countries work with the technical support organizations, which has an experience and knowledge with the nuclear. And for this, for the beginning of this Akkuyu project, we start to have an tender processing to get support for the outsourcing these capacities, and we find international companies that support us, the regulatory authorities capabilities. When I was in regulatory authorities, I am also responsible to take this technical support activities. What are the needs of the regulatory authorities' expectations? Firstly, the licensing process. Akkuyu is sending us safety analysis reports for all stages of the NPP, and we are responsible to give this review and assessment of this submitted technical documentations. And additionally, after giving the license according to these documentations, we are implementing inspections. I mean, talking about the regulatory authorities, and regulatory authorities are responsible to do regulatory inspections for the Akkuyu project. And this process, maybe the Turkey is one of the best practices and one of the best examples how to do these regulatory inspections, because it is starting very early stages of the long lead item production of the long lead items that we called. What are these? These are very important equipments, important to safety equipments, and the production of these equipments is very critical. And as a regulatory authority, we are taking a role to do inspections from very early stages of this equipments till operation stages. So our role is start at that point. As a technical support organizations, we have a number of experts who is doing this inspections or surveillance together with the regulatory authorities as a resident. In Russian federations, we have around 20 expert resident in these facilities and dealing with the inspection of these equipments, safety class 1, 2, and 3 equipments. And additionally, for the Akkuyu site, now I can say that it is the biggest construction site in the world from the nuclear power plant point, from the nuclear business. So at that point, we have around 20 expert residents on the site doing the inspections for together with our regulatory authorities. So such kind of experience and expert is very critical at that stages, because now we are in the processing of the 4 unit under construction on the site, and there is a huge amount of works to do and have to be oversight by the regulatory authority.
Understood. So, Mr. Ceylan, I'm just curious, so currently now Turkey now is currently building reactors using the VVER technology, the Russian technology. And of course, Turkey has plans for in future other more nuclear power plants. Now, given the fact that there may be a possibility that Turkey adopts other technology like AP1000 or the Chinese technology or Korean technology, with that in mind, will your job as a TSO and also a regulator be harder should you be having to deal with different types of reactor technology, Mr. Ceylan?
Thank you for this question, Mr. Zhang. Yes, you are, as you mentioned, now we are working with the VVR type reactors, with the Russian approaches, with the Russian technologies, and we are really familiar with this technology because more than 10 years we are dealing with this project. Of course, different technologies and different approaches always a challenge from the regulatory point of view, because you have to establish your systems, taking care that these approaches and requirements of these systems. But we haven't such experience. Almost with this, we have a parallel to project, Akkuyu and the Sino in 2014 and 2015, especially. At that period, we parallelly worked with these two projects at the same time, simultaneously. And when we develop our requirements, we should take both projects and both requirements. That makes some more generic requirements, but for each project, we have some specific guidelines or some specific lower level requirements that is indicating, and for each project we have some different requirements. That's how we adopt ourselves. Of course, as I mentioned, it's a challenging issues, but we have experience with this issue, and according to the government decisions, because we are independent from this decision process. What is the type of the reactor and what will be the approaches we can adopt ourselves according to the needs of this technology.
Wonderful.
We have a capable to do this.
Wonderful. So I guess two things that you mentioned, which will allow you to manage different technologies, having a good system in place, having a good process, and of course, more importantly, being adaptable, being able to adapt, and being confident that you have a proper system and approach to deal with different type of reactor technology. Wonderful, yeah. Mr. Ceylan. So I guess just
this is the maybe it's a good point that you indicated. Why it is not a very big problem for us, as you mentioned, we have a systematic approach, and then we establish our systems independent from the technologies, and then almost all the technologies have many similarities. We can say the PWR technologies can be a EPR, maybe some differences from the VVR, but at the end, they are very similar technologies and similar approaches. So we have established the systems that independent from the technology, and it makes us to arrange our systems or adopt our system easily for the new technologies. Correct. This is the one of our strong sides as a regulatory or as a technical support organizations and as a country.
Correct. And I guess, whenever you are moving onto a new technology, there is a lot of lessons learned from dealing with previous technologies, which you can adapt, and in fact might make your job even more efficient because you know the big picture, and now it's all about localization, customizing it to the typical technology that you are working on. So I guess there are some challenges, but because of the experience that you have gained previously, it will be easier to overcome the challenges because of what I mentioned earlier, having a good system, a good process, and having the capability to be adaptable to new technologies. Fantastic. So Mr. Ceylan, sticking to NÜTED, could you share perhaps some of the future plans or the areas of focus for NÜTED regarding the nuclear energy developments in Turkey? Mr. Ceylan, please.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Zhang, for the questions. As I mentioned, maybe I can give us short information about establishment stage of the NÜTED. We have a very new company. We are very newcomer to this nuclear sector. We has established in 2018 with the nuclear law, but 1.5 years period after this establishment stages is we spend the time for non-technical issues, and our functions starts actually early beginning of the last year. And when we start this last year, when I assigned as a general director for this for the NÜTED, we have a very limited person in a technical capacities. How we start? We sign a contract with our regulatory authorities, and then according to this signed contract, we have they indicate some technical issues. They indicate some technical expectations, such as what should be the qualification of the expert, what should be the qualification or quality of the reports, and etc. And then we establish a team here. One of our teams, as I mentioned, working in the abroad in Russian Federation's manufacturers, and one of our team is working in the Akkuyu site, and one another big teams working for radiation sources all over the Turkey, and etc. So this is the what is our strong side. The inspections is the we get many lessons learned, as you mentioned, and we have a good experience and knowledge on this item. And of course, our establishment stage and development stage is still continue. And what is our future planning? We are now establishing a team who has a good experience and knowledge for the review and assessment process. For the, of course, we establish our structures and our personnel according to the stage of the Akkuyu project. Now we are on the manufacturing and construction stages, and next coming years it will be we will dealing with the commissioning test and commissioning stage and operation stage. So we establish our system, our personal qualifications, needs of this period, and now we have a preparations for the commissioning phase of the Akkuyu project for the unit 1, unit 2, and 3 and 4. So and also we have a capabilities, we have a good capabilities for the knowledge for the operation stages. We have a good international expert. We are working together with the national expert, and then we learn from them. It can be such an knowledge transfer to our colleagues. And also we are finding a very new commerce, newly graduated engineers from the high-level universities in Turkey, and then we put our experts together, and then they work together to establish our and to build our capacity up for the next coming stages. For the next stages, as I mentioned, we organize our systems according to the needs of the Akkuyu project, and the commissioning is the our one of the priorities that I focusing on, and of course for the other next coming stages. We are also not only taking the Akkuyu project's progress, but also we are taking the new project. And as we know, there will be 3 nuclear power plant project in Turkey. One is Akkuyu, one is Sinop, one is İna'da. We are also would like to be ready for the new project, and we have a team for the site activities. We have a really good team for site activities that will have many lesson notes from the Akkuyu project, and we have a good capacity of these teams. And according to this project starts, we of course, we will also organize our team according to the needs of this regulatory authorities necessity.
Wonderful, wonderful. So it seems that you even have a systematic approach with regards to talent development or human resource development, pairing together experienced people with fresh graduates from your university.
Yes.
You also have a systematic approach with long-term projects like Sign Up and the other project that you mentioned, even though it may seem very far away, but you are already thinking about how to approach those projects, because Turkey has, as you mentioned, plans to build more reactors apart from Akkuyu in the 2 other sites. Has there been any dates mentioned with regards to the other projects, Sign Up and the other projects? Do you have, are there any dates in particular or timeline that you're working with?
As I mentioned, just we have a very limited information about because it's a governmental decision, and then when they get the decisions, then the licensee inform us, and after our process will start according to this. But just we know that there will be a more project, and we are ready for the these new challenges, for the new project. And as you mentioned, to be ready for such project, we have to increase our workforces or increase our qualifications and quality of our expert. How you do this? I shortly indicated in our speech. We have a good experienced person. They have worked in a big project in Turkey, and also international expert. They have a nuclear experience with the construction of the NPPs or commissioning of these NPPs. And together with the experts, we are documented all stages of these NPPs. And I can say that easily, one of the companies that have a really systematic approach, not only systematic approach, but also from the documentation point of view. We have a plan of procedures, plan of checklist, plan of technical documentation, standards, and then how should we evaluate these standards, and etc. So this makes our job is more easy. For adopting the newcomers is much more easy with the systematic approach, because we have many procedures is telling that how they do this revenue assessment or how they do this inspection activities. And when they start as a new engineer for the nuclear, of course they are dealing with the they are working together with the experienced one, or sometimes they are doing and they are writing their reports. And in our centers in Ankara, our head office, headquarters, we have a team who have an experienced person and reviewing these reports or all these informations or non-conformance issues as from the expert point of view. And then we finalizing with the after their review. So we will doing the expert review, peer review for this for better understanding and control by the experienced person in our company.
Wonderful, wonderful. So it's you have a wealth of knowledge which has all been documented, and it makes it so much more easier when someone's fresh and coming in. Instead of feeling very lost, they will have good guidance and approaches on how to take on the project. Now, Mr. Ceylan, I mean, we talked very briefly about international cooperation. Of course, the NÜTED has got tremendous experience in this field as being a TSO. Now, if you could give an advice to emerging countries which are currently looking at starting a nuclear power program, and of course, while the IAEA has recommended that countries establish TSOs, not many countries are actually doing so. They're not looking at establishing a TSO. from your experience, what has been the main benefit of having a TSO for an emerging country like Turkey, and what advice would you give to emerging countries on why they should seriously look at establishing a TSO for their nuclear power program? Mr. Ceylan, please.
Yeah, thanks again for the question, Mr. Zaf. And as you mentioned, there are many lessons learned in nuclear, and this lesson learned is give a road or give a maps how we will proceed with how we deal with the new challenges. So for countries such as Turkey is a big country because more than 80 million populations, and the electricity necessity is very high, and we have a very young generations in our countries. So for the newcomer countries like in Turkey previously 10 years ago, I strongly suggest them to make to establish their national support organizations. Of course, it will be the best model for this, starting with the experienced countries or experienced companies, how to do this establishment stages, and the experts, national expert is the really one of the key point for the nuclear from the safety point of view also. So I can say that as a NÜTED, we are also ready to give such kind of supports for the newcomer countries, and then we can be a good model for this, because in theory now we are in reality. The suggestions and technical documentations or other documentations can give you some theoric informations, but you should focusing on the theoretical informations, and you should be make them in a reality. So our situation is telling this. We now in these realities, of course, it is not an easy job. There are many challenges, but you should take these suggestions for the countries. They should take care of these suggestions, and also their needs of their countries. And every requirements from agency or from the other authorities cannot be adaptable for each countries. So at that point, the national expert is very important, because they know very well what is their country's realities. So they will take these requirements together with our expert or the experienced companies, and establish their own system and implement this system and oversight the systems as we do now. We establish the system, but we are not staying at that point. Now we are oversighting, and we are checking ourselves with internal check and with external check, what is going right or what we are missing, or what is our gap analysis, and etc. So we are always doing these checks for us to grow up faster and safe.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So certainly, there's lots of lessons that can be learned from Turkey's experience, especially from the emerging countries, many of whom are starting nuclear power program, and certainly, they'll be looking forward to learn from your experience, both as a regulator and also from a TSO perspective. Now, Mr. Ceylan, as we draw to the end to this interview, I guess it's only right for me to ask you, Mr. Ceylan, what do you enjoy most in your current role? I mean, you've been in the industry for, I won't say how many years so that people won't guess your age, but what do you enjoy most working in the nuclear sector in Turkey?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jaf. I can say that nuclear is really it's really big. It's a huge, and we are learning always, every day, every week, every month, every year. I'm still learning, and then this learning process is never finalizing. And then when we checking, as I mentioned, if you are looking the historical parts of our journey, we start in 2010, and now we are almost 12 years. I have been involved in this project. Very beginning of this project, I have been working, and for each stages we have new challenges, and for new challenges we have we have to find the solutions, and we have to continue with finding new solutions or developing ourselves. So this learning period is endless for nuclear. So this is the one of my enjoyable parts in my work. As I mentioned, there are many items or many subjects have to be learned still in nuclear, but also I am enjoying to give this lesson learned or what I have learned to the for our newcomer engineers or for our new experts, because I just believing that the informations or experience getting bigger when you share. So it makes me also enjoying with my job, and nuclear is a small family still. But what I am expecting for the next coming years with the carbon zero aim, nuclear will be a very critical role player for the energy, and for next coming years, Turkey will be one of the leading countries. This is my opinion, because as I mentioned, we have our system is very adaptable with the European norms, and we have an information with the Russian norms also, and we have a young generations. And when we combine all these requirements, I can say that as a country, we can be one of the leading country for next coming years in nuclear, because to finding an expert in nuclear is not an easy job. Still, we have very difficulties to find an expert who has an experience. If you find the expert, we have a language barrier because the Russian for the VVR type of reactors, it is not easy to find an expert who can who can speak English. Also, as a country, this is our strong side. All expert has an knowledge with English and fluent speaking English, and all our reports is written down in 3 languages: Russian, Turkish, and English. So when I combine all this, these are giving me a positive contribution while doing my job, and then we are really keen on to do for the new challenges.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful, Mr. Ceylan. And on that note, thank you very much for being on NBP Hotseat. It is fantastic to learn about the great work which both you and your organization, NÜTED, is embarking on. I really like the systematic approach that NÜTED has put in place, which will allow it to be successful not only in the present, but also in the future as you adopt different technologies and have a bigger nuclear power program. More importantly, it is encouraging to see that Turkey is playing an important role in combating climate change through the adoption of nuclear energy. Fantastic. To all our viewers, feel free to leave your feedback and questions in the comment box below, and do subscribe to our channel if you would like to gain more insights from other global nuclear leaders. Stay tuned for our next episode of NBP Hotseat. Thank you very much. This is Akkuyu signing out. Thank you, Mr. Ceylan.
Thanks, Mr. Zaf.